Here's a place where all of us can be safe. Our stories of transformation can be safe, and all the things we want to research are safe here. This is Safe Space with Cheyenne. I'm really excited you're here, and I hope you stick around for a while, because I've got a lot to show you before I leave Earth. I love you guys.
And we are back with another episode on Safe Space, and just like all of my guests are amazing, and I love them. This woman is an angel in human form. She is an earth angel that crossed my path a few years ago. And I am so excited to bring her on today to not only talk about her Reiki journey, but just everything in between and what she's been doing. So Crystal Doyon is the owner of Pure Energy Reiki by Crystal. She can do distant Reiki over Zoom and online platforms. And she can also just do it in the Wichita area. She is definitely dipping into her toes into all of the, I would say the holistic and metaphysical fairs around the area, but she's coming on today to not only tell her story of how she got into it, but even some of the sessions that she wrapped up today before our recording. So hi, Crystal, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fantastic. How are you, Cheyenne?
I am so wonderful.
Good.
Your voice just sounds like a good slice of butter coming on here already. I'm so excited. I know some of your story, but I don't know all of it. Not that we've been able to sit down and go bar for bar, but I mean, I met you through my original podcast, Spiritual Smorgasbord.
Yep.
And then I'm going to let you tell the rest of your story, but I think I've known you for about 6 years now, and we've both been on the beginner train and at the same shows together. So just seeing you blossom in your own journey and being able to come on today is golden retriever mode for me.
It's exciting. I never thought I would ever be in a situation like this where I could share my experiences, my story. And so I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I can't wait. So where do we begin this story with you? I know it's definitely before I met you. So what I usually say is when did spirit, universe, God, whatever you like to call it, start tapping you on the shoulder?
I would say, so when I was younger, I always felt like I just had a knowing of things, but I didn't quote unquote know what that meant. I just went with it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then as I became an adult and really started branching out and researching things on my own, that's when I came across your podcast, the Spiritual Smorgasbord one, and fell in love with it and all of the topics that you and Desiree were doing and the guests that you would bring on. And then I, of course, switched on to the Safe Space with Cheyenne podcast. And I just went into major, I don't know, maybe stalker mode, if you will. I was listening nonstop to all of your episodes.
I did remember getting a message. You're like, just so you know, I start all of my mornings with you. And I was just hand over heart. Yes.
Yes. Every morning when I my me time, I'd get ready in the morning before kids had to go to school. I had to go to work. I would listen to all your podcasts. But it just, everything resonated with me. And I was just this feels like home. It's welcoming. And I thought, well, this is kind of cool that other people kind of experience this and feel these things too. And you had a guest on your podcast, one of your episodes. He was a medium. And the whole time I'm listening to that episode, my scalp was getting lit up. I had so many energetical zaps. And I'm I need to pay attention to this. Something's going on here. So I immediately booked a session with him. And I don't know, it was probably a couple weeks before we had our session. And it was a Zoom call. And I think we were supposed to meet for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And it was 4.5 hours total. And it was cool. Totally nothing that I expected, but he was the one that brought up, hey, I think you might need to look into energy work. He goes, because you're a healer. And my silly mind, I'm I'm an accountant. I'm not a healer, And he's no, you need to really research this. And so he's well, have you ever heard of Reiki? I've got a fly in here. He goes, have you ever heard of Reiki? And I said, no, I don't know anything about that. So he goes, just research it. And he goes, I think you're going to like what you feel or what you hear about it. So I started doing some research. And then, of course, had another guest of yours that you're very close with that I saw she was doing online classes, and immediately signed up for her interpersonal development class, her metaphysical master class. And part of that package that I signed up for was to be able to take Reiki 1 and 2 through her. And so that's what really started my journey with Reiki itself. And so I've been taking, I looked at my calendar, and I think it's been a year and maybe 3 months total since I took my first Reiki workshop. And so I've done Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and about 2 months ago was attuned to the Master Reiki symbol. And it's been quite the journey from day one, where I'm like super nervous, like, is this really working? You know, like what's going on, to
Yes.
what happens today, you know? So it's awesome.
It's a very accurate response. Let's break some things down for people that either don't know what Reiki is or how it works, or even like how attunements work. Because I've had attunements, and just the feeling of them are really interesting.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own experiences. So I always like to dig into like, what is an attunement feel like in the beginning when you're first starting as a beginner? Like, because you're dealing with a lot of, I would say, like subtle energies, a lot of things that are invisible to the natural eye. It's a lot of third eye activation. And also, I mean, it's not just about like going and grabbing a certification really quick. Like there's a purification system that goes on in your own energy field, mental state, conscious, subconscious. Mm-hmm. So when people start going and doing these practices, they're like, I just noticed all of this shit coming up from my childhood.
Yeah.
It usually is like around, I can't remember what attunement it is. It's one of the like really emotional ones. And they're like, oh, you can cry for like no reason for the next week after this. And I was like, okay. Yeah. You know, like, I'm like you, my logical brain is like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. So my first attunement, my level 1 attunement, I was extremely emotional. Like I bawled my eyes out pretty much the whole weekend. It was just so beautiful, like the experience itself, and being able to really focus on like your spiritual team and the energies that are there that have been with you your whole life, whether you've realized it or not, and to kind of like hone in on feeling them and knowing there's that unconditional love that they have for you, and they're there to help you with whatever you need. You know, you just need to ask and tap into it. But I had, my gosh, so level 1, you open up your crown chakra, right? So you can start to receive the universal life force energy. That's what Reiki is in Japanese. If you convert it from Japanese to English, it's universal life force energy. And to have that, I don't know, it's hard to explain, because you're right. Everybody has a different experience, you know, and Chantel put me in a meditative spot. Like we were out kind of in the ethers, enjoying just sitting up there. And while she was doing the attunement for us. And so I could feel energy coming through me, and I could feel like her around me because I had my eyes closed in my meditation. And at the very end, like she had us see something coming towards us, and I just see this bright white light with like gold sparkles around it. And I felt so humbled and almost like I'm not meant to be in front of this energy. And I was trembling. I thought I was just trembling in my meditation. And she said like she could see my hands were shaking. And of course it just enveloped me, and I just felt this peace and just this love. And I explained it to her, and I was like, I have no idea what this was. And she goes, that may have been source, may have been God, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know. But it was incredible. It was, I don't know, like, but you're right. It was such an emotional purge of all these things coming up that have been inside for so many years that for one reason or another, I just never worked through. And, you know, finally.
Really consciously, you kind of have no idea. A lot of those are stuck. Like you're like me, where I'm like, how many books can I get my hands on? How much time do I have to read? Like when everybody goes to bed, it's shy time, and I don't know what I'm adding to the puzzle tonight, but I'm going to do it. So then usually when I get in a conversation with you, I'm like, okay, what are you reading? What's going through your mind right now? Because I mean, really, when you just get so hungry and awakened to that knowledge, and you're just like, it's almost like you want to connect all of the systems.
Yeah.
Like, who inspired who? Where did this come from? So you go down like history rabbit holes, science rabbit holes. You yourself is a whole ass rabbit hole with plenty of different tree branches and avenues. So
yeah, exactly.
It can get like very addicting is what I think about it. So the way that you describe like almost like the blissed out feeling during the attunements, those are definitely, you're right. I really struggle with trying to like put a feeling in a word to it. Like I hate to be like, oh, you have to try it yourself, because I think it's just based on everybody's calling if they want to do it. Yeah. But how do you feel? Because like I said, like you're an earth angel to me, even when I met you as accountant Crystal. You know, like I never was like, you're not an earth angel. Like I've always thought about that. So going from an accountant Crystal to now all of the work that you're doing simultaneously, like do you feel more compassionate, more opening? Like, do you feel like you're worthy of being of service to people?
100%. Yeah, definitely. It's one of those where like at the beginning of my Reiki journey, I felt like I almost had to prove to people that Reiki was real and that I could do it. And it was more of, I went through my notes before we started here just to kind of recollect on my experiences that I'd had. And it was a lot of me telling clients what I experienced. Well, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. So you know it's got to work, right? And my hands are on fire. My hands are bright red. Like you can feel the heat, right? And it was that a lot of me just felt like maybe it was I wasn't 100% sure. Like I knew it was working, but it's like how do you explain it, because nobody can see it. Some people can feel it. Not everybody has that clair, that sense where they can feel the energy as strong as I can. Maybe you can as well. But it's just like, it's kind of one of those, you just got to trust me type thing, you know? But it went from that to now I'm not really pushing it. I'm allowing people to just come to me. Like you attract what you put out there, right? Your vibrational levels you'll start to attract the people that are vibing at the same level you are. And so I really haven't, what's the right word? Marketed much, I guess, on my page. Other than letting people know when I'm at fairs, just because I want to meet as many people as I can and help as many as I can. But I just let them come to me, and I love it. I'm not seeking people out like I was before. But I like being able to help them in whatever capacity they need. You know, some people need to just talk and purge a bunch of stuff afterwards. Cool. I'll sit there and listen. I don't have a counseling degree, so I can't give you like feedback on maybe what you can do to help, but you know, I'm there in how whatever space they need.
I think a lot of it is really just redirecting people that to themselves. I built that up a lot on, I would just call my discernment journey, especially going through and interviewing and working with so many practitioners for the show. Like you have to go in and submerge yourself in whatever like culture, scenario, personality, modality that they're providing you. And you have to go in like kind of in like a journalistic mindset where you're like, okay, I'm open-minded to this, but like I'm also here to strengthen a lot of these things. So like I have a checklist now for like safe practitioners and unsafe practitioners, not saying they have like an intention to hurt people, but just like you say, there's a lot of like rites of passage, I think, when you get into that. And when you start going into like the unseen world, I mean, first there could be like religious programming or limited beliefs around that can come up in this, which I think when I talk to a lot of people in the beginner, they say the same thing you are, where it's like, am I really doing this right? Like, how do you know it's working? And I mean, at the end of the day, I think the best way I ever heard it described was like, it's a muscle. You just kind of have to exercise, whether it's opening the crown, the third eye, trusting intuition, you know, falling in some pitfalls along the way. But we all have those same things where then, you know, you go out and you're like, look what I found, you know, how cool is this? Can I try? Because just like we were talking about the shows, like you actually go to the shows, you have a booth set up, you have some wonderful foot traffic from what I read from all your shows too. So you're doing like sometimes back to back to back, always people on your table. And from a practitioner standpoint, that's where I think, maybe some things we should talk about is how you really prepare for shows, protect yourself, conserve your energy throughout it. And then what do you do to like ground and reset back into normal life? Because I know that ungrounding is very popular in the community right now, where people are getting addicted to that really buzzing, blissful high experience. And they think that that's what they can always stay in. And I think that's where we're getting a little muddy in the vision. So I think just speaking on grounding and how you go through that whole process would be great for some beginners listening as well.
So when I'm getting ready for any of the shows, it takes me a couple of days to really prepare and get myself ready. So I personally will do multiple self Reiki treatments, just to make sure my own vibrational level is as high as it can be, to help kind of shield as much energy that I don't want coming in. I also wear crystals to try to help me, protect me as well. And I make it a point to cleanse the space that I'm in. So I use my Reiki symbols. I smudge, obviously I've got smudge spray. Not everybody is okay with people burning sage or palo. So I do have some smudge spray that I use for both my crystals, the table, and then I do, protect the space that I'm working in as well. But I make it a point to, within for sure the day of, and almost always the day before, I call my spiritual team forward and I ask them to help protect me on the spiritual level. Because you're right, there's a lot of psychic attacks that can happen. I tend to be a very trustworthy person and kind of like a lamb in the woods where I kind of just trust people. And I may not know those signs to look for immediately until I start working on somebody and I can kind of feel the energy coming through. And I'm like, this isn't very good. But, I make it a point to ground myself like the day before. Make sure I do my grounding practices. I'm outside walking without shoes on. I'm sitting up against a tree. My neighbors wouldn't laugh at me. I'd be hugging a tree. But I'm just like connecting with nature. And I'm using Mother Earth to help regulate my energy fields. And I'm meditating. I need to make sure that I'm in the right mental space to do this. Because if I'm not good, if I've got issues that I'm working on myself, I shouldn't be working on other people. I need to make sure I'm good to go. And got my crystals that protect me. I've got my spiritual team that protects me. I make sure I'm grounded. And then I also always just envision that the Reiki energy around me to help shield me as well. And, some people, some people like to envision, like when they put their shields up, if you will, mirrors or actual like shields, armor, if you will, just to try to help keep any of that extra energy that you do not want to take on away. I will say this past weekend when I was at the summer solstice at the Cotillion, that was my first back-to-back day event that I did. We had 9 hours I did 9 hours on Saturday, 8 hours on Sunday. And it was the first time that I had physical pain myself from doing Reiki, where my left index finger, the receiving side, hurt so bad and was swollen. And my joints were painful for almost a full week. Today is the first day that it's felt fine and it's back to normal. So lesson to me, I need to make sure I'm protecting myself better. Because I got to work on 14 people while I was there. And, after I added all the time up from the different sessions I did, it was a total of 4 hours of Reiki. It's a lot of Reiki to do for people, especially,
so much energy coming through, not just the guests around you all in the Cotillion, the fact that the Cotillion is in a circle. So you're all like swimming in like somewhat of monster soup.
It is nonstop. But I have to tell you, the energy, it was amazing. It was great energy there. And I was like, before the event was over, I was like, I'm coming back in the winter. I will be here for the winter solstice event. But doing that, and then of course, after my sessions with my clients, I'm cleansing my table. I'm cleansing my space. I've got my crystals. I got to cleanse them as well. So I use my smudge spray to help break that energy up. I've got a chicken in house now. Do you want me to get her outside real quick? I'm so sorry. With after the show, all of the actual Reiki energy coming through me and flowing into our clients, you would think would be very energizing, and which it can be, right? Like, don't get me wrong. It can be very energizing. It can be calming. Like, everybody though experiences different feelings through a Reiki session. But I have not been so tired than I have this past week. Like, it totally took it out of me. And I don't know if that was more just my first time doing that much Reiki, seeing that many people, meeting that many people, and just being able to touch that many people, or if it was, hey, Crystal, you need to do better protecting yourself. It could be a little bit of both. I don't know.
I am going to say I didn't do Reiki at shows, but I did a couple tarot shows for a different company in town. Mm-hmm. They just kind of threw me in one day. I came to visit and they're like, we didn't have enough readers. Do you want to read? And I was just like, sure, I'll give it a try. Like, yeah. I usually do like requests or like friends and family. I never really thought about reading at shows, but hey, if you have an opening, like, I'll just come and try. Mm-hmm. And I did like 8-hour days back to back to back. And like by that Sunday, I was like, just zapped, dude. Just from everything. Because I'll definitely want to get into like the clairsenses that you feel really activate when you're going through it. For me, it was like clairaudience was my strongest one, but it also worked really well with claircognizance. Mm-hmm. So I just always see like these lines coming through, like, here's the voice and then here's the images that are coming in for it. Yeah. And like you said, like, yeah, when you start assessing someone and going through it, you're like, oh, there's something clogged there, something dark there. Oh, that's not good. That's an attachment. Yeah. And like tarot's the same way, where you can see things that are like blocking people from getting what they're wanting, or, a lot of unprocessed stuff. I think that's mm-hmm. what I think's really good for it. I don't think tarot's really for like future. It's more like potentiality based on each move that you make, and like, yeah, if you do this can happen. And Reiki's kind of the same way, where you can have a tarot reader and a Reiki person at the same fair an hour apart tell you the same damn thing based on cards or a body scan. And that's what I always found so fascinating about going down. And it's not like I'm testing other people, because I know with you being an accountant, I feel like you still have a very strong type A personality, and that comes with a high percentage of skepticism. Yes. So how did you get over not only the skepticism of it, like some story recommendations? I know you had a really beautiful experience with a relative come through. I think that just kind of like opened you up really big. Yeah. And then how did you work through the imposter syndrome in the last year and a half with all your certifications? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So early on in my Reiki journey, I definitely was just almost always questioning, is this really working? And so I started asking feedback from my clients, and just like anything that they could tell me, just to be like, okay, something's got to be working right. Mm-hmm. And some people experienced a lot of relief to physical pain. Like my dad, for instance, when I first worked on him, he had a really bad shoulder issue. And then I think it was his knee. It's either his knee or his hip, one of the two. And he got off the table, and I love my parents. And they were both somewhat skeptical, I think, in the beginning, mostly because they're very religious, and there's that aspect of, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Is this witchcraft? Like, you shouldn't have access to this. Only God can do this. Only Jesus was able to do this. So thankfully, they allowed me to work on them and practice, because in Reiki 1, in order to get your Reiki 1 certificate, you have to do your 21-day cleanse, basically your self-treatments, and then practice on family, loved ones. And so they allowed me to practice on them. And my dad told me, he goes, man, I didn't want to tell you this at the beginning, but he goes, I got off the table, and he goes, my knee's fine. It stopped hurting. And he goes, my shoulder isn't as bad as it was. He goes, it's still kind of hurting a little bit, but he goes, I can feel relief there.
my brother, he has horrible back, like he needs back surgery, and he's got some issues with discs. And I've worked on him probably 4 or 5 times now. And the first few times that I worked on him, he had told me that he received physical help. Like his back stopped hurting for a matter of days. Like I don't have it. I have yet to meet anybody that says their pain has completely gone away for, since I've done a treatment. I think it always can come back for one reason or another. But before I gave him a treatment, like he couldn't even bend over to tie his shoes. Like his back was that locked up and just hurt that bad. And, one of those, you'd get out of bed in the morning and you'd have to walk against the wall to help keep him up because it just hurt so bad. And I think he went a week and a half, maybe almost 2 weeks of no pain, like 0 pain, couldn't feel anything. Like he was like, I can do things I haven't done in years. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, seriously?
So, you're not pulling my leg, are you?
Yeah. And then I'm like, well, they're my family. I believe them. I know, they're not just trying to boost me up and whatnot. And so, but then hearing other things from clients that don't know me, like my first time ever meeting them. And it may be like a day or two later, I get a text message. It's like, oh my gosh, you won't believe this, but I haven't felt this pain in this part of my body for so many days. And it's incredible because I've been hurting for years. And, I've had, my niece had a migraine one day, and I asked my sister-in-law, I was like, is it okay if I just give her a little bit of Reiki? 5 minutes is all I gave her. And she was like, within 30 minutes, her migraine's gone. And I was like, I don't know how this works, but it works. Like, I can't give you the science behind it and explain it, detail to detail, but it works. So for the beginning of my experience, a lot of the feedback I got was related more to physical symptoms going away versus the emotional stuff that people can release and let go of. I've had plenty of sessions where clients have cried on the table. I've cried with my clients. Like, I can feel what comes through. I have a very strong connection with Jesus, and his energy comes through and assists me sometimes. And when I can feel that energy, it humbles me and I am in tears almost immediately. And it's like, pull yourself together. You're with a client, but it's hard because it's beautiful when you know who comes through for that person. And then at the end, when I explain what I experienced, whether it's the channeling aspect of it or just feeling the energies, and it resonates with them and they connect with it too. And it's just, I don't know, it's really cool. I
know exactly what you're talking about. And then I think I have like a perfect sentence formulated to be able to break it down in like even a grounded format. And I'm like, it's like describing shrooms at some point in a weird way, because you're obviously not high on psychedelics when you're doing Reiki, but just the amount of love that you are hooked up to, the servitude aspect of it. And then when you bring in Jesus into it, that is a powerful energy to work with. And there's been so many people that I've talked to that he is like the main guy that'll show up no matter what your background is, what your story is, all of that. Even if you didn't call him, so to speak, you just said, spirit team guide, whoever you're working with. I know there's a million different ways to protect yourself from calling a team. So we're all different. But a lot of people that I've interviewed, it's kind of crazy that we're lost for words, but at the same time, we still try to experience the same. It's like, oh, it's this overwhelming, all-encompassing, humbling love. Yeah. You just feel so seen, so heard. Like, yes. You just know like what he says is really true is kind of the best way I could say about it.
Yeah, it is. And he doesn't come through it for every client, and I don't call him specifically forward. I'm not doing that at the beginning of my sessions with my clients. But when I feel him, like, it is a strong energy that comes through. And one of my favorite sessions that I had was, I think, the third time I was working on my dad, and Jesus came through almost immediately. And he, in my third eye, like when I say I see things through my third eye. I don't see ghosts. I don't see things like that. It's just my third eye basically opening up. And he came through and he stood at my dad's feet and he did Reiki on my dad with me. And it was the coolest experience I've ever had. And he's like, we're looking at each other and I'm going through the different positions on my dad's body. And I get to my dad's feet and he steps aside and just nods, kind of like, you got this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. But he's been at all 3 of my attunements. And I don't know, I can't explain how the feeling that overcomes. I know, like, it's him. It's 100% him.
Mm-hmm.
When I feel angels coming forward for somebody, for me, it's like they shine a big old bright flashlight right in my eyes. Like, it's just super bright white. And sometimes I can see like this huge, like gigantic wingspan of like the beautiful white angel wings. And so I'm starting to learn like the different things that come forward for me and like how to interpret what that is so I can at least pass it along to people.
I've heard people have also had like extraterrestrials walk in as part of a spirit team. Have you seen anything like that?
Yes, I have. And I'm like, how do I explain this?
Yes.
Because you don't know, especially somebody brand new that you've never met, like that just walked into your office.
Right. You're like, there's a Pleiadian here.
Yes. Am I going to sound like a kook when I see what's coming through for you?
That is so true.
You know, I mean, I had a meditation, I don't know, maybe a few months ago where I like pop up in this room, I suppose, if you want to call it that. And I can see the energy bodies of beings. I don't know what they were because they were of all kinds of different shapes and sizes, but it was like I was in front of a panel of all these different beings. And I'm just like, just looking around at this huge room. And I'm like, can they see me? Because I can see them. So it was kind of neat. That was the first time I've really ever experienced anything like that. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming it was like an extraterrestrial just based on the shapes that I saw.
Yeah.
Some of them looked humanoid, but most of them didn't. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And it was neat though, because I wasn't scared. There was nothing negative that came through. It was just kind of like, hey, we're here for you type thing.
Yeah, it definitely opened your mind. Like, how is your research rabbit holes gone every time you do a different session? Like, are you like, oh man, now I have to look this up. Now I have to look this up.
Like I had a client at the very end of her session, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago, where this weird thing pops up. It looks like the outside looks like a teddy bear, but it had like a child face. And it was sweet. It looked really nice and sweet. But I'm like, I have never seen anything like this before. What the heck?
I've never heard this in my life.
I know. I'm like, I don't even know how to explain this to this person. So first I'm thinking maybe this was like a childhood toy, like some oddball toy that maybe that was important to them. But so I was like, okay, I don't know how to do this, but here's what came through. And she's like, I don't know either. So I'm like, man, I got to do some research because that's a new one for me.
Yeah, and again, with all the people that I've talked to, no situation is the same. Nobody sets their stuff up the same. I think we all go through and pick up what's for me, what's for you. But I know when I used to do a lot of practices, I would just have a bag full of all the crystals and I would always figure out a way to line them up perfectly. And there's always one that goes like under their pillow. Mm-hmm. And I called it like the galaxy one. I don't know what it is. But when I put it under this pillow right before I started to do this, girls, this is very early in my journey. And I definitely understood the third eye and the clairaudience. So I was like, I wonder what we're going to see today. Yeah. And then when I put the rock under the pillow before our session, I already saw galaxies shooting when I touched it. So I was like, oh, that's fun. But I didn't really think like, oh, that's what we're going to see today. I'm getting prepared for it. Yeah. So I lay this girl down and we go through the whole session. And in the middle of it, like the wall furthest away from me, like a doorway opens up, light shoots through, the door opens, and like her whole spirit team just like walks in and they are ancestors. They are like deity type things. I'm going to say that just so I don't have to explain like where they all come from. They're extraterrestrials, but they all wore the same robe to show like, hey, we're her team. So then they all walk through the wall, and it's a telepathic conversation. I think that's what people should understand when you have these visitations like this. It's not like they physically manifest in front of you like Hollywood makes it seem. It is very pineal gland activation. And the downloads, that's why they're called downloads, because their telepathy is so fast, not only in just transmission of the messages, but the understanding back and forth. Like humans could never talk and have a conversation as fast as you can talk and comprehend what each other is saying. So they're all walking through, and I'm like, wow, I'm so glad you're here, because I'm a freaking human, right? I'm not like, I knew you were coming. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, what are we doing with her today? And she had a bunch of cobwebs that were over her, kind of like in a cocoon, and the cocoon was like rising off of her. And I started seeing all of the threads is what I was thinking. And they said, we just need you really fast, like as slow as I'm saying this, the conversation, the Reiki session is done. Like I'm slowing it down to like 0.0002 for everybody. But they're like, we just need you to step back and pray. So usually when I pray, I have Jesus over here and Mary over here. And that's my Sacred Heart Divine Union that I love working with. So I stepped back on a rug and I just put my hands together and I started praying, and I closed my eyes, and they all circled her. A big blue case came over her, like all the light had connected. Yep. And then they just started all of their hands. It was like a symphony, like if they were playing a harp musically is kind of what I thought about it. But it was all just so like very melodic without music, and you saw them pulling certain strings off that she didn't need and like disappearing into nothing, and then they would pull different colored strings and like wrap them back around, almost like replacing things that were holding her back, didn't need to be here. It was a lot of like energy field work is what I would say. She had something pulled out of her belly button that I didn't see, but they literally like took it and it went into nothing. And then the door opened and they, all just kind of filed out one by one. And I was like, okay, like basically after they were done, I just went and kind of sealed up any doors, rechecked everything. And she was in my earlier stages where I was definitely like feeling imposter syndrome. Is this real? Am I going crazy? Am I supposed to be doing this? Like all those questions. But again, like, just go have the experience. You can't just sit and be, how I want to say, like procrastinate and conceptualization of things. Yeah. Like you really have to just go have the experience and then put all the info together later. So I am like you, when I see trippy shit, I was like, now I have to talk to the client about what I've just been seeing and experiencing for myself and for them, So I let them, I said, do you want to go first, or do you want me to tell you what I saw? Because I don't want us to influence each other, like put false memories in our heads. Yeah. And she said, the first thing I want to tell you is when I set my head on the pillow and closed my eyes, my head shot out into the galaxy. Like it was just shoom. And I was like, oh my gosh, we get to talk about aliens. I was just like, okay, I totally have like full permission. Believe what you want, take what you want. I'm still sitting here going, I can't believe what I just saw. So I think that's probably one of my favorite parts about it, is not just how everybody feels afterwards, but even like the possible like trippy things that you could see that kind of add on to your journal. Keep saying journal. Maybe I just need to journal today. My goodness.
Well, and it's true though. I mean, I take notes like during my session. I kind of let my clients lead. So some people like to talk a lot, right? So I let them know, hey, I will gladly throw a conversation. Like we'll just talk this whole time while I work. I don't have to be meditating. I tell them, heads up, I may not channel as much, because for me, I have to get that almost alpha brain weight, right? Before I can really take in everything. So if I'm talking a lot, I'm not going to be able to do that, but whatever they want is what I give them. So, it's kind of cool though, because I'm confident. I feel comfortable telling people what comes through to me, just because I've kind of put that, intention out there that I only want to receive information that's good for the client. Mm-hmm. Like I've heard people receive, like health issues and, oh, you got cancer now. I kind of don't want to know that. Like, I'm not a doctor. I don't want that.
Yeah. For their highest good.
Tell
me where to send them. That's what I think. If they're like, seek medical attention, you're like, I know nothing. I just heard seek medical attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to do it. I had to have a good talk with my team though, because I almost ruined a proposal, a wedding proposal, unbeknownst to me.
Oh no.
I was like, I had a Reiki session with this young woman. I had known of her. She's a client of Ernie's, my husband. So I've known of her, just had never met her before. And so I was offering some free sessions to get my Reiki endurance built up for these fairs I was doing. And she came in. First of all, she had the cutest, like, baby horse come through for her. It was so honoring and just so full of energy and like all this stuff. So I'm telling her all about this horse. And so she's giggling and she's like, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, let's just keep on going. Well, I thought she was already engaged because in my mind, I see there's an outdoor wedding and I thought it was at her dad's place because that's where the horse ranch is. And I'm like picking up that they're celebrating something at her dad's house. And so I'm like, you're engaged. Are you planning a wedding? And she goes, no. I'm like, shit. Like, what do I do?
This is like, funny.
I'm like, okay. I said, well, I see like some sort of celebration happening at your dad's place. And I feel like it's like a wedding though. Like, that's how it came across to me. And she goes, well, funny thing is her boyfriend then, she goes, Trent and I have pictures. We're getting pictures taken at my dad's property this weekend. And she goes, everybody says he's going to propose to me. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was like, you're going to have to tell me how it goes. And sure enough, I woke up the Saturday after, and they'd posted all the engagement pictures and everything. And I was like, you guys, you can't. Like, thankfully, she had an inkling already because
yes.
But I'm like, I couldn't imagine ruining that. Like, could you?
Yeah, but think about it like from her journey. Like, obviously, everybody's already telling her. But, like when you go back through your story and you think about just all like the little nudges or what people really like to cling on to as synchronicities.
Yeah.
So it's like everybody's like, he's going to propose to you. And then she goes to a random stranger she's never met before, maybe having her own skeptical feelings about what Reiki is and what energy work is. And then she sits on the table and you're like, yeah, this is all the stuff that I'm seeing. And she's like, okay. So yeah, she could have had an inkling. They could have just been doing photos. And then that it actually happened. Like you could have added to her belief journey and her open-minded journey.
I think so,
what I think from the other side.
Yeah, I think so.
That's funny to be like, put the parameters on that. Like, guys, don't be letting me ruin stuff now.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people where it's like, oh, are you pregnant? Like, I'm so excited for you. And they don't even know, you know, like something like that. But she did tell me, she was like, I'm pretty skeptical. Like she had gone to, I can't remember. She said she did tarot reading with somebody once or had a mediumship session. And she said within a year, everything that had come up through that session had happened. And so she goes, I've never had Reiki before, so I'm kind of skeptical of it. But she was, I'm becoming more open-minded to this kind of stuff just because of what she had experienced before. So I think for sure this definitely was an eye-opener, both for us, because now I'm like, all right, guys, come on, team.
I can't tell you how many times I've had something come through and I'm like, do I really have to say that? Like there's no logical explanation for why I would know that just from doing this certain thing. Yeah. And I think like the research logical side of my brain is why I like continuously interviewing and researching it, because there obviously is something here. So I definitely have to keep going. But when you have moments like that, you're just like, how? There's no logical way to explain this. That's what makes it so cool.
Yeah.
So for the beginners out there, like what is some advice you would have for them for getting maybe faster through those little loopholes or just rites of passage?
I would say practice meditating. Like that was my biggest thing. And early on, I was like, I don't know how to meditate. I can't shut my brain off. I don't know what that means. And I've had clients, like what they've channeled to me a lot recently is have people practice 5 minutes a day, just focus on your breathing. Sit outside or sit in a room, listen to music, whatever. Music doesn't have to be the spa, meditation music. Listen to some whatever and focus on just your breathing and see if you can just do that 5 minutes a day. And then make it a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. And the next thing you know, you're a month or two into it, you may be doing 20-minute sessions and you don't even realize you're quote unquote meditating because you're just focusing on your breathing, but you've been able to calm your mind. You know, you're in that alpha brainwave. You're starting to see things in your third eye. You're starting to hear things, or maybe you're feeling things. And then it just kind of clicks and you're like, oh, well, hold on a second. Like, okay, there is something to this. It takes practice. That's all it does. It just takes a little bit of practice.
I support anyone's decision to start meditating and understand that we all go through the monkey brain part.
100%.
I think the more that people recommend, like, oh, meditation's really good for me, and then they're really vulnerable with how they start, like the stopping, the starting with the 5 minutes, hell, even getting up to 20, 30 or an hour session and being like, I'm good, and then coming back and almost having to start again, because I've had to restart my meditation journey over so much. So I love going through and pulling apart beginner tips for anybody, because we can see it everywhere. More and more people are going to alternative forms of medicine, and we want to just get those experiences out there and show everybody. So where can people find you if they want to work with you in person or in distance?
Sure. So I am located in the Wichita, Kansas area. I do have an office here in Wichita off of McLean. That's in the TheraPlay buildings for anybody that's local that knows where that is, kind of by McLean and Seneca. And so I do sessions in the evenings and on the weekends, because I do have a quote unquote normal, 9-to-5 job, if you will. But I do distance sessions as well. So either on Zoom, via phone, Messenger, whatever, or if you're somebody that just would rather not be on a call and let me work, and then I just let you know when I'm finished, I'm fine with that too. I do also offer services where some people don't want to, they want it the comfort of their home, right? Like that's their safe space. That's their sanctuary. And so for those people that are close to the Wichita area, I'm willing to go out and actually go to like their house and set up in their living room or wherever, family room, and do a session for them there. But they can reach out to me on my Facebook page. It's the Pure Energy Reiki by Crystal. That page, I mean, I've got Messenger on there. They're welcome to call me as well. I got my phone number posted on my Facebook page. My email address is pureenergybycrystal@gmail.com. And so they can also reach out to me there. But I don't know, I'm bad with emails. I don't check it as often as I should. But
so we'll go through the DM page for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get that quick.
Yes. Well, I have all your links down below for the listeners, and I appreciate you coming on today and being so vulnerable and telling us about your story. Absolutely. And, thank you so much for being a part of my life. I love you dearly.
I love you too. I miss you guys so much.
Yes. Yes, you need to come visit. We need to trade some services and some stories. And like I said, you're an earth angel. For anybody resonating with Crystal's story, please feel free to reach out to her, and we'll see you on the next episode, my friends.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Crystal. Bye, friends.
Bye.